Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and very shortly Season 10 of Diablo 4. With this video, I'm here to give you a quick idea of your leveling path, important things to know going into the new season. You know, we got Chaos Armor, perks, the overhauled Infernal Hordes, with a leveling version added too, the all-important Chaos Rifts, not to mention with the last season, Season 9, introducing Nightmare Dungeon updates. Those are still here. There's plenty of change to think about while you get to the endgame and beyond, so with that said, let's begin. What do you do before you even start leveling? Well, you make a character, you skip the campaign, you pick the seasonal content, and then you have the difficulty choice. Normally we play on normal to blast hard, and progress into higher difficulties the moment you power spike. But for many classes, that's around level 15 when you hit a power spike. You know, you get your class passives, you have amulets and rings to apply your ideal codexed aspects to, and then maybe you push the difficulty at that point. The moment you slow down, that's when the difficulty you're on is probably too high for your output, if things aren't dying basically instantly. So you scale that from normal all the way to penitent while leveling. You manage that to the best of your own ability. Obviously, the higher difficulty you're on, the more XP you get. And it's a big difference between them. With all the perks and balance changes of Season 10, how things felt so strong in the PTR, I think it's worth trying starting on hard this time. Follow this guideline, and if you're good, continue on hard. Maybe even push to expert when you hit those power spikes. You need to gauge this yourself, but with the power they're offering so early in this season, it feels like potentially starting on normal is unnecessary. Anyway, when you are in the game, make sure you open the wardrobe and go straight to the pet tab and get one of those equipped so it actually starts picking stuff up for you, and then teleport over to the den where the mercenaries are and get those equipped and going. They're going to be very impactful on the gameplay, and getting them leveling is obviously important. Not to mention you earn their currency to buy items, which will be relevant during the gearing up process. Alright, cool. Let's begin with 1 to 15 plus, because where you end will actually be based purely on how you do in the Helltide. We'll probably pop over to Kyovashad, do the Raising Spirit side quest. It's super easy. You go speak with the guard, you do a little cheer, and then you get a pile of herbs. And now you have the herbs you need to craft your elixirs at level 10 and get those going from the get-go. Basic elixirs come at level 10 for a 5% XP increase, then you'd go to advanced elixirs at 50 and beyond for an 8%. So you want those going all the time when you're leveling. Your first focus when you really begin leveling though is the seasonal stuff, the new quest line. This will take you to the new content, show you the mechanics, the powers, and unlock all of it as you go. It's the most important focus you can have during leveling. What does that actually mean for us in Season 10? Well, initially it'll be a combination of your first Helltide and the whispers available there, by caring a lot more about the progression and completing the whispers rather than min-maxing cinders at this stage of the game. As a quick reminder, Helltide is easier and faster the more players there are, which won't really be a concern for anyone on launch day. There'll be players everywhere, but if you can play in a group, I definitely recommend it. In this, you're going to find new compasses called the Fleeting Horde compasses. These are like mini Infernal Hordes, which are going to be top tier experience. Be aware that this season is about Infernal Hordes, and they've changed a lot around it. The devs claim that say the offerings you'll be given, they'll all be viable choices compared to before, but you know, the reality is likely there'll be a best choice or best combo, and we'll have information for you on that as soon as we know it. But any good AoE build will do great here. And like a real Infernal Horde run, having more players is just better in most cases. It means people can be at the 4 points of the different event spawns and maximize your ether returns. Solo is fine though. If you can do it in a group though, do so. Also, while you're leveling in Helltide, you'll experience Chaos Rifts. I want to tell you to do these rifts as priority when they spawn, but I will give you a warning that in the PTR, they're a bit slow, and so they might still not be the best XP. The thing is, they're going to lead to important rewards, progression, the season stuff's going to push you towards them, you get reputation and the seasonal material from it. So even if they're not ideal XP, it is worth doing if you're willing to go for it, but if it's genuinely slow for you, or it turns out that they're so much worse XP compared to your other options, then you could wait until later to focus them when you're stronger. But if you're not trying to hyper level, it's probably fine to just do them. Chaos Rifts will also drop sigils for special Nightmare Dungeons. The Nightmare Dungeons will have a Chaos Rift tag on them, and inside it'll feature, many Chaos enemies and rifts, and should be a great source of rewards and XP as well. Again, it's likely that this will tie into the seasonal questline and rep progression. It's definitely worth testing these as soon as possible, but if the XP is great, then you do them every time. If not, and it's slow, you can always put it off until you're stronger. But I expect them to encourage this content, so it may be unavoidable. For some extra details for this section, back in Season 8 the Season Journey was updated. The Battle Pass is now purely cosmetic rewards. Now the Season Blessings are tied to the Season Journey. The Blessings are potent passives that help you speed up progress, whether it's leveling speed or other important details like power progression, leveling glyphs, that kind of thing. The challenges to complete each Season Journey are more specific these days and grow in challenge chapter by chapter. The early chapters are usually very easy though and give you relevant rewards that will be impactful while you're leveling, so definitely think about that. As a reminder, in a previous season they updated the class passives. You automatically unlock them the moment you hit the required level, so say you're level 15, you'll just get them, assuming you've done that class quest on that class at least once before. Classes do get bigger benefits at different stages though, like Necromancer gets Golem a bit later than the rest of them. Right, that's 1 to 15 plus, likely much higher, setting you up and blasting the season questline wherever that puts you in the season. For us this season, you're going to end up whatever level you actually end up by the time you finish the first Helltide. Each Helltide is hourly, with a 5-minute bit of downtime as it resets and then spawns in a new location. This is going to be the perfect time to manage your setup and then begin blasting. This means dismantling all your useless gear collected, considering your drops, quickly clearing a dungeon or two for codex aspects, you know, that kind of thing. I'd recommend a normal difficulty dungeon to get codex rewards too, to speed up this process. Getting the codex rewards are going to be key for your leveling build. Slap these aspects onto your amulets, rings, maybe even gloves, because these slots can stay for a while. Meanwhile, your weapons are constantly going to change because you always want to be equipping the highest eye level weapon you have. So imprinting on those is a bad idea. Be aware that defensive aspects on your helm, chest or legs are something to consider. You don't need to go crazy on this, but commonly people pick up the Juggernaut aspect for the raw armor. Disobedience also works if you find that instead. When you've spent that 5 or so minutes prepping the setup, you'll dive back into Helltide as it spawns again, progressing everything as we just discussed, but now a lot faster. So consider your difficulty level before you hop back in. If you could actually be on a difficulty level, maybe one higher than you're actually on now. If everything stays dying instantly, you're good to go. Otherwise, where possible, focus any season journey progression you can to get those great rewards and get season blessings sooner. If your weapon ever falls behind in eye level, definitely remember the mercenary barter system and the Obel Gambler in town to keep that nice and strong. Right, so by the time that you hit 50, you're going to start to see some real power. For the last 10 or so levels, it's a good idea to consider the classic normal stronghold strat, where you go clear all the strongholds on the map on normal difficulty, because this is going to give you incredible bursts of XP, the same amount of XP as if you were on a higher difficulty. On normal, you can do this so quick, but then get really good XP at the same time. It's been a reliable strat for many seasons, and when you clear these, you're going to unlock waypoints that will be important for your endgame. So getting the most out of that chore you're going to have to do, it's a good idea here. But you know, you can always just continue the Helltide grind if you want, or maybe you've collected some tributes for the Undercity with good affixes like Growth or the Rune Drop one. But I do think the Stronghold strat is a good idea around this point, as usual. Outside of that, you repeat the previous steps, push your season journey, the story, progress your powers, and all the usual, till you hit 60. Now, we're 60. It's time to change the difficulty to Penitent and prep our gear for the Torment 1 unlock, which means a pit clear of tier 10. To do this, we need to actually sort our equipment and potentially swap to our endgame build out of the leveling one. When you're level 60, you start to get paragon points, glyphs start to drop, and then everything really gets going. To be strong for this push, we need to invest in the setup. It means tempering all your gear in cheap ways for flat defense and any flat damage bonuses you can get. Percent bonuses are great, but they become more potent later on. When low level and under geared, flat damage numbers and defense numbers at that are very impactful. Obviously, imprint on any gear that's going to stick around even a little bit for the key aspects you need for your new build. Slap on any gems if you can, but more importantly, runes. Get your gear equipped with 2 sockets to have runes working and functional, rather than worrying about gems by comparison. You could also consider enchanting gear to get the right affixes on your gear, maybe the more impactful ones, but it's not that important at this stage. To do all of that though, you'll probably want to do a couple nightmare dungeons. This will give you the resources to do a variety of these upgrades if you need them, plus glyphs are starting to drop because you're level 60 and this is a great source for them. But ultimately the idea here is getting the core of your build set up for a nice power spike to push into tier 10 pit and unlock Torment 1. Okay, when you're finally in the Torment endgame, it's time for your classic longer term progression. We start in Torment 1, but steadily want to push into 2, 3, and then 4 eventually. The first goal in Torment will be between layer bosses and the new boss, Bartok. For the layer bosses, they're free to kill now, but the loot chest after does require the respective key. Those keys come from the relevant content to them. So Grigore, you gotta do Helltides. Varshan, you gotta do Whispers, the familiar stuff there. Higher tier bosses require the keys that drop from the lower tier bosses, and we'll start with the lower tier bosses more than likely either way. The more people in your group for each layer boss kill, the more drops there are, which is well worth doing if you can. And be aware that the unique table has changed this season. Since they moved the infernal uniques out of that mode and into various layer bosses, they've moved things around. So maybe update yourself where the uniques you're going to want actually come from. As another important thought, when you get an Infernal Hordes compass, definitely go do that at this stage, so that you can get that first kill on the new boss, Bartok, which, by the way, will require 666 Aether in the run to actually summon him. So make sure you're ready for that. Various unique chaos perks were referring to killing Bartok the first time in Torment 1 or higher to actually unlock them. Plus, he's going to be a top source for chaos armor, which will be incredibly strong and relevant this season. So it should be a priority. But yeah, when you've got some ancestrals and uniques and your basic power setup, then you definitely want to transition out of your leveling build if you're still in it at this phase. And the moment you're strong enough, you actually progress the pit tiers and get into higher torment levels for increased XP and loot, the sooner the better. Don't forget that the higher the torment level, the higher the chance for mythic drops on layer bosses. Now outside of that, like Infernal Hordes boss or layer boss focus, you just do the endgame activities on offer this season. Which basically means doing what you can to progress the season questline and reputation, power up your perks, and that kind of thing. We'll be bouncing between all kinds of different content for that. That could be nightmare dungeons for the great cliff drop rate and to fish for escalations. It could mean you spending time in the pits to level those glyphs. It could mean bouncing between Helltides for Whispers and many gear drops, the Chaos Rifts, which will become even more of a priority, proper Infernal Hordes, whether you're going to go for the Council or Bartok at the end, and all of this contributes to giving you XP, progressing your paragon. We'll get closer and closer to a full set of ancestrals, but the first ancestral you should care about is your weapon for its eye level 800. For that, I once again recommend the Obel Gambler in Towns and the Den Merchant for an early weapon focus and get that ancestral weapon ASAP. And yeah, whenever you're ready, push the pit levels, get into higher tiers of Torment. But there you have it, that's my overview for Season 10 and its updated leveling journey to endgame. We're going to be covering all things Season 10 as we get into it ourselves, giving you the advice and info at the right time as always. Until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.